Hi guys, so today I'm going to be talking about the basics of a parabola. Now a parabola generally looks like this, and it's a set of all points equidistant from the focus here and the directrix, which is here, which is this line. Now, two important parabola equations are the general equation, which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Now remember this equation because you'll see it later on. And the next is the vertex form, which is y equals a in parentheses x minus h close parentheses squared plus k. Now something that it's important to know is how to convert it to the xy form. So here we have our example parabola, which we can say the focus is at 1, 2, and then our point here, which is our any point, is x, y. And then because it's equidistant, it goes down from here. So we know that x is going to be x, and that because the directrix is y equals -2, it is going to be x, -2. So first, we're going to need to find the distance between 1, 2 and x, y. And we get this formula here. Then we're going to have to find the distance from x, y to x, -2. And we get this formula here. Now we set them equal to each other, and we get this equation here. Now that we squared it so that it's out of the square root, we come up with this equation, and then we FOIL down. And as we FOIL down, we find this equation, which is y equals 1 over 8x squared minus 1 over 4x plus 1 over 8. Now does that look familiar? It should, because it's y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, which is the general equation for a parabola. Another thing that's very important is finding the zeros. So first, we have an option to graph it on our handy-dandy TI Inspire calculator. And then the next is to use the quadratic formula, which is -b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. And the other option is, of course, to factor. Now, the first way that we can do it with our sample equation, which is x squared minus 7x minus 18, we can plug it into our calculator, which is x squared minus 7x minus 18. So now that we have that in there, we can push enter. And our parabola has been graphed. So now we can push menu, and we can do we do analyze graph, and we find the 0. And from here we highlight this point, and we get the point which is -2, 0. And then we're going to click menu again, and we're going to do the same thing and analyze the graph and click the 0. But now we're going to do it for this 0 over here, and we get 9, 0. So now our 2 points are -2 and 9, and that's the first way to find the 0. The second way is to use the quadratic formula, which we can see here. And when we use our quadratic equation, we know that this is A, this is B, and this is C. So when we first plug it in, we have the option of a plus or a minus, and that's why we're going to get 2 answers. So when we plug it in, we do plus first, and we solve it down, we get 9, which we know is one of the points from what we just graphed. And then when we plug in the negative, we get -2, which we also know is a point on our graph. And our next way is to factor. I like to do the cross factoring, where I know that I draw an x, and I put this here, which is what we multiply by, and then here, which is what we usually add by. So now what plus what equals -7, and then what plus what times what equals -18. So 2 times 9 is 18. But in order for it to equal -7, the 9 has to also be negative. So then, once that's FOILed and factored, we have x plus 2 in parentheses and x minus 9 in parentheses. But we know in actuality that the 2 is actually a negative and the 9 is actually a positive. Thank you for learning about parabolas.